asked the girls in the office to let the gate open for me because being left-hand drive, boom gates can be a bit of a pain in the ass. So let's see if this works. No response. Try it again. Can you get the gate? Thank you. See ya. Yay. Awesome. We're out of here. Oh, it's been so amazing. What an amazing place. Kira Beach Tourist Park. Bloody legends. Right. I'm just going to pull over here for a second and put my seatbelt on and get my GPS lined up. And then we're on the road. I've had to do a pit stop at Retro Caravans Gold Coast, and Brendan's just checked out my chassis and says that it's not going to fall apart down the street, so that's a relief because it's been creaking. And now we're going to go, look at this, that is so funny, I love it. Oh, it's a kitty, and we're going to go and have fun and explore inside. Show me what you got. Hello Winnie. Oh, have you just got the dog still?
No, unfortunately not.
Oh, what happened?
Tick.
Oh no! Oh, that's a sad story. Oh wow. Okay, let's. Oh my God, is that Marilyn that belongs to Stan and Debbie? Oh.
That's just been, I think, had new owners or got new owners.
Oh,
so
they must have sold it.
Who owned it?
I know. I definitely know who
the
owned
whole
it.
inside was Marilyn Monroe.
Yes,
it's been de-Marilyn.
That's
Monroe.
Stan and Debbie's old van.
Yep.
No way. I remember it very well. It's been de-Maryland.
Yep.
Let's have a look. Yeah. Yep. Recognize this van for sure. So what are they going to do it with now?
Tattooing in the back.
Oh, this is the tattoo one.
Yep. So like recessed and
yeah, because it's got a really
like
cool
that.
roof and everything.
So we just fixed up the back, and then the tattoo bed will go.
So will they have like a bigger door on it, or just?
No, it's not gonna, I don't think it's going to be a full time.
Look at the shine on it
Tattoos,
though.
a couple of times a year at a hot rod show.
That is cool. I'm sure I'll see it back in its new life. This is what I love about vintage caravans. This is what I used to say in the magazine, Even if you covered every van in the whole of Australia, they're going to sell it. It's going to get a whole new lease of life and a new personality, and it's going to be back out again. And here we have it. Little Marilyn. It's not going to be Marilyn anymore. And this is a big Cara Park. Oh, this is a big project.
Yeah,
what's
so
happening with this one?
To a steel frame.
Yeah.
Outside, inside, everything off.
Wow.
And start again.
Wow. Big job. And what's this one going to be for?
Personal use, which is rare for a Cara Park.
Yeah, awesome. Not a coffee van.
No, so it's been in the family since basically new. I think it was the granddad. Used to sleep and work at the Snowy Mountains Hydro Scheme.
No
and
way.
This was like his site van that he lived in while he worked there.
That is cool.
And then when it was all done, he got offered to buy it. So he bought it and had it ever since then.
Wow.
His daughter owns it now.
And nice. I like the flip top bed. That's pretty snazzy.
Yeah, so plenty of room underneath.
Nice floors too.
And I'm going to have like a slide out kitchen barbecue that comes out the side as well.
Yeah. Wow. That is amazing.
And the new drawbar, you can see our drawbars go all the way.
Yeah, see, this is how you do a drawbar properly.
All the way
all
back.
the way back. See, my problem is my drawbar only goes to like a couple of feet in. But that's a nice long one too.
And that's still one piece of steel just chopped in half. Because you might as well.
Right.
It's cheaper than buying half a bit of
Oh my
steel or
gosh,
3/4 of
I
a bit
love
of
it.
steel.
Love it. Absolutely. I love your bike.
Yeah, I'm going to take some videos of when I push this outside. It's almost ready to be picked up. Match.
Oh, did
Like,
somebody
that's
get
my
that?
bike.
That's your bike.
That's
Okay.
my bike. I just thought it's too cool to match this, so I'll give it clean and do a video of that.
That's awesome. Okay, so I have just pulled back into camp from being in town, and check this out. Look what's happened over here. So, hang on, the sun's in my eyes. Okay, so here we go. We've got this little laneway now to define where we actually get to go through to the toilet, so that nobody like those dickheads in that bus can park right next to me. And look, it's called Lisa's Lane. Oh my God, they're so cute. Oh, I love it. Hilarious. So yeah, I'm stuck here now forever. Hey, beautiful people. I have been pretty slack with making videos and posting updates lately. Lots of stuff has been going on, and mainly I've been sick, which really sucks because I've been doing so well and I've been feeling so great and healthy and on the carnivore diet. And then I ended up completely out of the blue getting shingles, and it's been over 2 weeks and I'm still not recovered and I'm feeling pretty crappy. So that then kind of sunk me into a bit of a depression because I started feeling really flat before it actually flared up. I just wasn't feeling myself. Yeah, just, I don't know, run down and tired and kind of almost flu-like, just not feeling good. And yeah, it's kind of sunk me into another depression, to be honest with you, because I don't know, it's hard when you first, change your diet and you start running on ketones and stuff. You get a bit of a boost, like a little bit of a high, and then eventually things do kind of settle back down. But I was feeling so healed and so healthy. To be sick and run down like I have been has been really, really hard for me. I've been really struggling to adapt to that. I decided that I didn't want to have pink hair anymore because I was tired of bleaching my roots all the time and putting crap poisons. I thought, well, I'm being so healthy with everything else, I don't really want to put anything toxic. I've been using all natural things around the caravan, like as far as cleaning products, and I don't know, I'm just trying to be a natural, healthy person, and having bleached hair. Sorry if I'm wriggling, but I'm still itchy, so it's very uncomfortable. Yeah, having, doing this to my scalp is probably not good. So I went and bought some temporary hair dye that was meant to be chocolate brown to try and get over the bleached bits, and I ended up with kind of orange bits instead. And then when I went to straighten my fringe, like I normally do that with a little hair straightener, I normally roll that bit under. Something in the hair dye, the temporary hair dye that I had used, must have had some kind of plasticky type coating on it, I don't know, but it literally melted my hair and I had to cut it super short because it was like plastic globs. It was pretty, so that kind of got me down as well. So yeah, I've been dealing with a few things that have made life a little difficult. The other thing that's happened, and why I wanted to do an update today, obviously I've got, lots of good things to report, and I will make some videos about updates with the diet and everything. With my blood work, I got my recent blood work done. My inflammation markers have just consistently gone down and down and down. So I've got the one that was done in January, when I was on biologics for the rheumatoid arthritis. Then the one that I did in April, which was I think at the 6-week mark after I'd started carnivore, where it had dropped, the ESR and CRP had dropped significantly. And then I just had one done recently as well, and because I had a rheumatologist appointment the other day, and it had dropped again, and I'm at about the 5-month mark. So so to the person on YouTube who I had written a comment saying that my inflammation markers are lower now on the carnivore diet than they were when I was on immunosuppressive biologic drugs, it's actually lower now than it was then. And they said, bullshit. Say what you want. I got the numbers to prove it, and I will pull out the paperwork and do another video on that regarding that. But today's issue is something completely different. Today's issue, which has been contributing a little bit to my kind of downness, has been some comments that people have been making on wiki camps with regards to where I'm staying at the moment, and the fact that they're whinging basically about people permanently camped in places where they want to camp. So these are a couple of the comments, and people don't realize that reading stuff like this, and this has been happening to me for the last 4 years. I've made a few videos about, you know, being technically homeless, even though I have a home. It's a caravan. I don't have a security of tenure of anywhere to park it'll be, and I am constantly at the mercy of the kindness of caravan park managers and camping ground managers who make exceptions to a lot of the time limit rules and let us stay. So this was one that came in a few days ago. We just spent 2 nights here. Just a heads up to travellers, come with a water tank full and be prepared to have no power. They are charging $25 a night with or without power. It appears to be a lot of permanents there inside the oval that have most of the power sites. We know, as we saw kids going and coming home from school, yet on the form you sign when you pay, it states you can only stay 3 days, but that apparently doesn't apply to everyone. So many people that came in, we saw in 2 days, didn't know they needed to fill up their water tanks first, and they couldn't get power. Very disappointed. We won't stay here again, blah, 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 something to that effect. Then there was a couple more, came in after that. Just spent 3 days at the Showgrounds, $25 a night with or without power. Too many permanent people living there, taking all the power and water outlets. Maximum stay is supposedly 3 nights, but does not apply to everyone. Make sure you fill your water tanks before you come. Will not return. Been there many times. Very disappointed. This person wrote, good place, gets busy though, wasn't much space left on the oval. There were a few tent setups that made me think they were there longer than the maximum time period stated. They had a dog and it must be shitting behind the tent as there was dog shit everywhere around there. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, people complain because it's been really, really busy here recently, and a lot of southern migration heading north. And they're annoyed because people who are longer than a few days, who are paying the same nightly rates, are taking up the powered sites. Now, as for filling water tanks, there are taps everywhere here. There are a million places to fill water. You just need to ask somebody and look, but they don't. They get really grumpy. And that kind of attitude of, we have more rights than you have, actually affects your sense of self-worth and self-esteem. I've been really down. I was on the phone to a crisis counsellor last night. I got referred by the mental health team to the mental health team by the hospital. I was at hospital yesterday because I'm in a lot of pain and it hasn't subsided, and yeah, I've been going through some stuff, you know, and that was one thing I told the counsellor was, this erodes your sense of self-worth. Like, I would love to have the option of having a house like everybody else has and a home to go home to. When they told me at hospital that what really helps with this type of pain is to have a nice hot bath, soak in a hot bath, a lot of people find that really helps. That's not an option for me. You know, there are limitations. Like, only being able to store 4 days worth of food at a time because my fridge is so tiny and I don't have a freezer means I've got to go out and go grocery shopping every 4 days. I don't have someone to call on to say, hey, you know, would you mind going up the shops and grabbing me some stuff? I mean, yes, we have a community of other people who are staying here long term, but it's not that type of relationship, you know. Like, we all know each other and we can be civil, but you know, I don't consider those people my friends, really. So I've got to drag my sorry ass up to the shop every 4 days, whether I'm feeling sick and crappy or not, because that's the only amount of food I can carry at a time. And yet Jobo Public is going to come up here and make me feel like a lesser than valued human being because I obnoxiously occupied a powered site with water at the same nightly rate as you're paying. Like, that makes you feel like crap. And this is not the first time this has happened. There's many caravan parks, many places I've stayed at, and I read all the reviews on Wikicamps before I go anywhere, and I use it to make my own judgment on whether I want to go somewhere and stay there and how long I can stay there for. And I read it quite often. Oh, nice park, shame about the permanence. excuse me? You know, it just annoys me. So anyway, I felt like I had to respond, and I ummed about it. But this was my response on Wikicamps. In response to the previous few negative reviews, yes, there are permanents at the Showgrounds. In case you haven't seen the news lately, Australia is currently experiencing a terrible housing crisis. The managers here, who have big enough hearts, have made allowances for those with literally nowhere else to go. This Showgrounds is, after all, a community facility, catering primarily to the needs of the community. It's not a Big Four caravan park. It's great that the current housing crisis doesn't affect you, except to give you something to whinge about on your caravanning travels, but what kind of arrogance to assume that you have more rights to the power and water sites than anybody else. We all pay the same nightly rates. Also, there are plenty of water fill points if you ask. You know, if you ask, hey, where are the powered sites? They're not blatantly obvious, like it's a free-for-all here. Get in, first in, best dressed, find a spot. If you can grab one of the free power points somewhere, or double up with hoses, which a lot of people do. They bring the double connection things so that they can link into that. It's a Showgrounds and it's charging $25 a night. I mean, most caravan parks are charging $45, $55, $65, up to $100 and something down the coast. You know, my argument is, okay, and I'm scared that once these reviews start coming in, that they turn around and the show society says, look, we're sorry, people with nowhere to stay. We're sorry that we've let you stay this long and given you this opportunity, but the community has spoken and it's time to go. Where would we all go? Bearing in mind that every campground in the whole of Australia has limits. Day limits, time limits, month limits, whatever. They usually all have some kind of limit. There's no place I've ever rolled into, except Warwicknabil, where they said you could stay as long as you want, but then they changed the rules as well, and it's now a 57-day limit. People that had permanent structures built, this is happening all over Australia. Old people, retired people who thought that was where they were going to end up dying, they put everything into building a little annex so they could have a proper kitchen and a proper fridge and a proper freezer and maybe even a shower and things like that. They're being kicked out all across the country. They're being kicked out. They've got nowhere to go. They demolish all the money that they've put into that permanent site. It happened down in Landsborough when I was staying down there. So many people got kicked out because they decided to turn it into a retirement village and put these fancy little house things that they were selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars on. They still get the same weekly site fees as they did with somebody with a caravan structure, but they made it look pretty and they didn't want the look. People don't like to look, and I must admit, I don't particularly like to look at. There's been some camps that have set up next to me that I've been snotty and pissed off about it too, because I'm like, you look like a derelict homeless person, like with your boxes of moldy crap everywhere and your annoying dog. I don't particularly want to look at that either, you know. But if they say you cannot stay wherever you happen to be camping, and you cannot, and I might dress well and my caravan and car looks cool and I present myself on fairly optimistically when I can, but let's be realistic. The bottom line is I cannot afford to rent a house. I certainly can't afford to buy a house, and I can't even afford to rent a room in somebody else's house. Not that I would want to do that, because I can't handle people enough to want to live in their space. I need my own space. I don't want to live in a brick unit in some social housing down on the coast with high density situation and traffic. That's not who I am. I don't cope in situations like that. I want to be in a more regional, rural area. I want peace. I want tranquility. I don't want busyness. I should be able to choose to have those things, but I can't afford to rent, like even a room in someone's house. They're charging $350, $450 a week now. What? You people that own your own homes and are sitting pretty, you just don't realize what's happening out there. People with good full-time jobs are struggling to survive. I am struggling to survive.
I'm on disability. I'm very thankful for that, to the government for giving me that respite. But if I wasn't out there busking at least once or twice a week extra, I wouldn't be surviving either. I wouldn't be paying my doctor's bills. I wouldn't be buying good food for myself, healthy food. I'd be living on bread like I used to before I was busking, buying the cheapest, unhealthiest food, which then made you sick, makes you sicker. I'm paying $150 a week here, and I'm still struggling. What is there available for us in the housing market for that sort of price to not be struggling? And I'm not buying cigarettes, and I'm not buying alcohol, and I'm not buying drugs. That's just survival. Like, kick everyone out of the designated power watered sites because tourists have more rights to them than people who can't afford a house. And where are we all supposed to go? Out into the bush somewhere with no access to electricity, no access to fresh running water, no hygiene facilities and showering facilities and laundry facilities and things like that, which then makes us sicker again, which puts more of a burden on the government and the healthcare system, because we're living in unsanitary living conditions with no access to heating and bathing facilities at all, because that would make the tourists happy. I'm sorry. That's just rude. That is just heartless. And I didn't think that Australia was that kind of country. I remember when I first moved to America in 1988, I went to college in America in Los Angeles, and I remember going with my friends with the church group to go feed homeless people in the streets of downtown LA, and being so shocked and seeing that for the first time in my life, people sleeping on the streets. I was like, wow, we don't see that in Australia. Well, guess what, Australia? We do now. It's everywhere. Everywhere I go. When I was down the Gold Coast, even in a place as beautiful as Kira and Coolangatta, I saw people sleeping in doorways at night, pushing their belongings along in a shopping trolley. They had nothing. They had nowhere to go. They couldn't even afford to park a tent at a campsite. There are people sleeping in cars everywhere, everywhere. A lot of women, my age, older, who've literally put their whole life into raising children and being a good mum and a good wife, and maybe the husband died, maybe the husband left, maybe there's been a health crisis. That we don't have superannuation, we don't have piles of money in investments and real estate and shares. We have no safety net. Just the lack of compassion and humanity in the general public's opinion of what rights people who, for no fault of their own, it is not my fault that I got sick. I loved my job. I loved my business. I loved my life. I was going to buy a little house one day. That's what I always worked towards. After divorce and everything, it was hard to get back on my own feet, but bloody hell, I did it. I created an incredible business. I had worldwide success. I was living my dream. And then, boom, literally overnight, my world was tipped upside down because I woke up one day and I couldn't walk. Because this horrible disease called rheumatoid arthritis struck me in my prime. And as much as I refused to let it stop me, I was so determined to succeed despite my disability, despite my illness. I was so determined. I literally burnt myself out, ran myself into the ground. I couldn't survive. I was taking out loans and borrowing money just to get by because I was so determined that I wasn't going to give up. I was too proud to say I can't do this anymore. And even when the doctors were saying, you need to go on disability, you need to give this business up, you're never going to heal while you keep pushing yourself. It took 2 years before I finally succumbed and said, okay, you're right. I can't do this anymore. And I copped a lot of flack for that. Grumpy customers, grumpy subscribers, grumpy advertisers, a lot of grumpy people. People who accused me of being a fraud. People who said that I was lying because I didn't look sick. I didn't look disabled. Because you can't see pain. You can't see all the stuff that I've been going through. You can't see the nightmare. And I didn't post a lot about it in those early days when I was completely crippled and all seized up, every joint in my body locked up. I didn't make videos about that because I was actually embarrassed. I was ashamed. I wish now I had, because when people now accuse me of lying about my illness or my recovery or anything, you know, am I able to go back to work now? Yeah, probably. I'm healthy. Rheumatoid is under control. I talked to the doctor, they said no, because it's under control now, but it could come back. And unfortunately now, I mean, I also have mental health issues, and I'm not a particularly reliable person because I have good days and bad days. And my doctor actually said to me, the reason why you're doing so well at the moment is because you haven't been working. You've been able to focus 100% on your self-care for the first time in your life. That's kind of a little bit about my backstory, about how I ended up in this situation, and why it's not always easy, and why your judgment, random camper traveling around with your big fancy Jayco worth $120,000 caravan towed by your $120,000 Land Cruiser, going home to your $500,000 house in the suburbs in the city. Do you know my story? Do you care? Do you honestly think that I don't have the same rights as you to plug into a little bit of electricity and have some running water? Anyway, that's all. I'm not feeling very well at the moment, and I just wanted to say that. So thanks for listening, and hopefully I'll feel better soon. See ya.